60 Minutes with Angela starts right now.
And so, on Tuesday, October 6, 2015, Nigeria's Senate President Bukola Saraki finally read out the list. The list has been trending in Nigeria as all Nigerians wait to see who President Buhari will be appointing to ministerial positions. And the former governor of Kaduna State, Balarabe Musa, had this to say about that ministerial list. I'm quoting him now. He says, "Why did it take the president 4 months to come up with these names? These are the same old names, ordinary Nigerians who the president knows, and he must have even met them several times. So what is particular about them that he wasted so much time in appointing these ministers?" End of quote. Well, hello and welcome. This is 60 Minutes with me, Angela Ajitumobi. Thank you for joining me on the program today. And so 4 months into the new administration of Nigeria's President, Muhammadu Buhari, we finally have his team, his first 21, as the Senate expects a second batch of ministers from the President. Don't forget, Nigeria's constitution makes it mandatory that the President appoints a minister from every state of the Federation. Nigeria has 36 states, and to honor the federal character principle in the Constitution, the President is required to appoint 36 ministers. The question is, does he appoint all 36 at the same time? Join me after the break as I count down 60 minutes with Bolade Omonijo, an editor with Nigeria's Nation newspapers. Welcome back. Welcome, Mr. Omonijo. Thank you very much for coming back on the program.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Now, I'm sure you've been following, this ministerial list business for the last 3 or 4 months. Nigerians have been obsessing about who they call them the saints, because the president had said he was looking for people with integrity that he would appoint as ministers. And so we found on October 6th, Tuesday, at precisely 10:45 a.m., the Senate president opens that list. And finally, all the permutations and all the rumors were laid to rest, speculations. We had the 21 men that the president has chosen. I'll just read out these names to the viewers, and then we'll take your comments from there. Abubakar Malami is a senior advocate of Nigeria, SAN. Abdul Rahman Bello Dambazao, Lieutenant General with the Army. Aisha Jumai Al-Hassan, a former governorship candidate in Taraba State. She would have become the first female governor in Nigeria. Lai Mohammed is the National Publicity Secretary of the All Progressives Congress, APC. Babatunde Fashola is a former governor of Lagos State and a senior advocate of Nigeria. Adebayo Shitu is also from Oyo State. Solomon Dalong, Senator Chris Ngige. Rotimi Amechi, a former governor of Rivers State, that's in Nigeria's South region. Audu Ogbe, Amina Ibrahim, Dr. Sagi Ehanire, Emmanuel Kachiku, the GMD of NNPC, Dr. Kayode Fayemi, a former governor of Ekiti State in our southwest geopolitical zone. We have Sulaiman Adamu, Kemi Adeosun, a former commissioner for finance, also nominated again for a second term as commissioner in Ogun State. Obviously, that will move aside now. Dr. Ogbonnaya Onu from the southeast. Ahmed Musa Bello, Ibrahim Usman Jibrin, Senator Hadi Serika and Senator Udo Udoma. And you heard the comment I read from former Governor Bolade Musa. He says, why did it take the president 4 months? These are names that are known to everyone. So, you know, it leaves one wondering, was there turmoil in the APC before the president could come up with these names, perhaps?
I don't think it's about turmoil. Really, there would be contending interests. It's natural. Right. And for a party like APC, where you have 4 or 5 different tendencies.
Yes, 4 souls, I call them.
That are just cohabiting. They've not really been able to come together. So obviously you should expect that. But I'm sure the president expected that. So that shouldn't be a problem. And they have told them that he was going to live above the dean, that he was not going to be banned by anybody's nomination. So that wasn't a major problem. I was angry myself. I will use the word angry before October 1. I was angry because I did not think our president will have to go to Mars or Neptune or Pluto to pluck out saints who will work with them. They will not just be on Earth, they will be in Nigeria, and they will be Nigerians. And they could not have been Nigerians dug out from holes. They will be those that we had known. So I didn't expect anything that would take more than a month. Most when they had 2 months after the election to prepare too. No, so he had about 6 months. 2 months after the election, where they should be advancing his mind to who will work with him. Then 4 months after he was sworn in.
Okay, but how could he have done it 2 months after? We saw some of these nominees being vilified in the media. Someone like Governor Fashola, Governor Faye.
I think that even made it worse. I think if he had done it early enough,
we wouldn't have had
much of those. That gave them the opportunity to do that. But I was going to that. I was angry up till October 1. Then on October 1, when the president made his broadcast, I felt disarmed somehow.
Why were you disarmed?
Yes, he said that his transition committee, headed by Alhaji Ahmed Joda, made some recommendations, some of them quite far-reaching. And one of it was restructuring of federal administration, the machinery of government, to make it neater, to make it leaner, to make it more productive. And to do that, they recommended that all the ministries, more than 30, should be collapsed into 19. That is restructuring. And they didn't feel it would be tidy, that you appointed 6 ministers, post them to the existing ministries, then you start immediately to restructure, and then you restructure the ministers again. I mean, it looks untidy. So it makes sense to me that you do the background work, you do the restructuring work. So as you are unveiling the 19 ministries, if they are still 19, then you are unveiling the ministers in charge. And I felt that that's reasonable. It's logical to me.
So what did you make of the names? You know, in terms of those saying these are people known to Nigerians, they're not, as you said, from Pluto or Neptune. They're normal people. We've seen them at work. Some we haven't seen, but we've been, you know, hearing of. Which names stand out for you from that list?
To be frank, there are quite a number of names that stand out for me. I wasn't expecting rookies. If you came up with people we did not know at all, we would complain too.
Are
we experimenting?
Are they going to learn on the job?
Are they going to learn on the job? Are they going to be adventurists? We will ask too. So I expected some admixture. Mixture of the old, experienced, a few technocrats who were not known but are achievers, who will be unveiled to us, some who have been there for some years, like people say of outdoor which since 1982, and a few who are just coming to public administration. I expected a mixture of all those. And if you talk of people stand out, well, maybe stand out would not be the word for me, but a number of people that I find quite interesting. I found Chief Audu. I just mentioned his name.
But you know, people have been cracking jokes on social media about the fact that in 1982 he was screened by the current Senate President Bukola Saraki's father when he was Senate leader in the Senate. I mean, he was screened in a Senate that had Oloye Saraki in it.
I understand.
And then now in 2015, the son of Oloye will be in the Senate screening him. So it looks like we haven't made progress. Whatever happened to the 35-year-old, the 45-year-old?
No. I don't accept that. I believe that an executive council that will work for Nigeria must comprise people of different generations. If you had people in the 80s that stood out, why not? Yes. They can avail us of their experience. If they stood out, then if they were men of integrity, if they've kept themselves, then why not? I don't see anything wrong. It's only if we had about 5 Audu there that I will raise an eyebrow. That to have one Audu shows that, well, we must give credit to the man. He has stood the test of time. I don't see anything wrong with that. Anything whatsoever.
Who else?
Yeah, quite a number of people, but let me mention Senator Udo Udoma. I've always been impressed by Senator Udo Udoma and Senator Udoma Egba. I've loved those two people. From a distance, I don't have any relationship with them, but I've seen the way they've carried themselves. I've seen the honor around them. You know, Udo Udoma, I remember that in 1999, he was nominated by Chief Olusegun Obasanjo when he was coming to government. He accepted. But when he was made the junior minister, as a man of honor, he said, no, I thought I was coming to avail of my own experience and so on. I built up some name, and I thought I was bringing it to government. As junior minister, I wouldn't be able to express myself. I wouldn't be able to express my own philosophy. I wouldn't be able to make optimum contribution. It's not like people are very hungry for offices who will take anything, desperate, that's the word, who will take anything thrown at them. And I love that. And all through that Senate, I watched him very closely. He wasn't a noisemaker, and he wasn't somebody who had nothing to contribute. He opened his mouth and you wanted to listen to him. There are a number of them. Anytime I listen to Senator Mamura, for example, I love to hear his contribution. You know, Senator Adetumbi from Ikiti in the last Senate, I love to listen to him. There are a number of people who have stood out. So when you hear such names, you want to associate with them. So Udoma, and he was from a political family. His father was a justice of the Supreme Court, was Chief Justice of Uganda. He was a leader of the political party in the nationalist days. So he has a background, he has a track record. We could track him down. And he has kept himself out of scandals all through these years. I love that. Then talk of Dr. Fayemi. I've always been intrigued by him. He is a politician, he's also a technocrat. He's a civil society activist. So he's bringing all these competencies together. And I felt that that would be great for a country like this.
Some people say, for instance, with Dr. Fayemi, having lost his attempt at a second term, they see it as compensation.
What's wrong with compensation? A political party is also a vehicle for administration. You also recruit people from party. No, there's nothing wrong. I expected that the DG of the campaign organization will be part of the administration one way or the other. And that's Rotimi Amechi, one way or the other. He was the DG of the campaign organization. If he led the campaign and the campaign was successful, what's wrong? We say, okay, you campaigned for this administration, come and work for it. I don't see anything wrong with it. He sold himself. As he was selling the candidate, he was probably selling himself. Kayode Fayemi was the chairman of the convention that produced the president. And people said that was a very credible convention. If people say Fashola did very well in Lagos, why don't you say, well, if you did well at a very smaller territory, come up to the federal and let's see what you could do there. You know, I don't see anything wrong with some of those.
You know, interestingly, I'm very proud to say that 60 Minutes with Angela has spoken with at least 4 of the nominees on that list. Governor Babatunde Fashola, Dr. Kayode Fayemi, Governor Rotimi Amechi, and of course Lai Mohammed. Even up to 2-3 weeks ago, we spoke with Lai Mohammed. But, you know, I'm looking at the comment of the Economist magazine. They say the cleanest dirty shirts in the laundry. That's what they call Buhari's list. And that's because President Buhari has been looking for the cleanest men. People are saying he was looking for angels. But the thing is, we still don't know the portfolios. What manner of screening can we have when we can't ask people questions about specific portfolios?
You see, the debate has been on for quite a while, and I've taken a different view from most people. People always say, why not attach names to portfolios? I've never believed in it.
Why not?
Now, one, let me, on the level of principles and philosophies, there are 2 schools of thought, the generalists and the specialists. Specialists will say, if you are coming to the finance ministry, let's know what you are bringing to the table. Let's know whether you are competent to handle the finance ministry. That's specialist. The other says, no, you are coming as a minister. You are a generalist. The technical men are on ground.
They will guide you.
They will guide you. You are just to provide the cover for them. You have to go to the executive council, bring the broad policies and so there that will be implemented by them. You are not going there to actually do the implementation.
Yes.
You are to guide those, you are to lead those who do the administration. So really, because the president is the chief executive, he's the minister of every ministry. All these men are to assist him. When he gets there, in another 2-3 months, or 6 months, or 1 year, he decides there's need for a reshuffle, he reshuffles. Does he come back to the Senate and say, I'm moving this from the Ministry to Trade and Investment?
So
does he come back
him again?
to come and screen him again? So if he's not going to do that, what's the point? When President Obasanjo had to move the former finance minister, Okonjo-Iweala, from finance to foreign affairs, did he go back to the Senate for screening? It's unnecessary.
Okay, and the fact that the president had said while at the United Nations in New York that he would head the petroleum ministry. You know, I've heard some people saying if he must head the ministry, he must come for screening. What is your opinion on that? Do you think he will go for screening? Does he need to be called petroleum minister as the chief executive?
That's interesting. I've heard it too, and it was amusing to me. I just said that the president was elected to run the whole and full gamut of the executive. He is the president, he's the chief executive, he's father of the nation, he's head of state, he's commander-in-chief of the armed forces. That's what we elected him to do.
Yes.
So as chief of the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, he appoints the service chiefs. As the chief executive, he appoints his ministers who assist him.
Yes.
If you look at section 5 of the Constitution,
yes,
you will see that he is the chief executive, and that's what we are told, and that he may assign some of these duties to his vice president or ministers. So obviously, that he decides to take more than a passing interest in the petroleum ministry does not mean anything to me. Yes,
but some people are also quoting a section of the
138.
138.
Yes,
that says that he mustn't have two roles, he mustn't have two jobs. The president shall not, during his tenure of office, hold any other executive office or paid employment in any capacity whatsoever. And so that disqualifies him from other jobs. Do you think the petroleum ministry counts as other job in the light of the Constitution, or are they looking at a job outside governance?
That's exactly what I'm saying. It cannot be other jobs. Read section 5 too. Yes. Let's read them together.
Section 5 says, subject to the provisions of this Constitution, the executive powers of the Federation shall be vested in the President and may, subject as aforesaid and to the provisions of any law made by the National Assembly, be exercised by him either directly or through the Vice President and ministers of the government of the Federation or officers in the public service of the Federation.
Good. All executive powers inhere in him, and he may exercise directly or through the VP or other ministers. That is clear.
And if he chooses not to exercise it through them, he can exercise it through himself.
Absolutely. And even when he's exercising through them, they still report to him. So if he says, instead of you reporting to me on this particular one, I want to also take more than a greater interest in it. Be in the petroleum ministry, bring the ministry where at that today, about 80% of our foreign earnings come from. And where you've had so much rot and debt for quite some time. I don't see anything wrong with that. At least for a while, I don't see anything wrong.
Join us again after the break.
It is difficult to respond to that question.
Angela, that's a great question.
Great question, Angela.
Angela, that is a very great question.
That's a great question.
Okay, that's a great question.
Yeah, very good question.
That's a good question.
This is an interesting question you put.
60 Minutes with Angela. Again, answers to every question you always wanted to ask.
Welcome back. If you've just joined us, it's 60 Minutes with me, Angela Ajiktumobi, on my hot seat today, Bolade Omonijo, an editor with Nigeria's Nation newspapers. You laughed when I said hot.
It's quite
hot. All right, so let's look at the 3 women in that list. You know, the president has been accused of not giving enough slots to women. I mean, you know, out of 21, 3 women, but the 3 women stand out. Amina Ibrahim, United Nations Special Advisor, Kemi Adeosun, former commissioner in Ogun State, and Al Hassan, you know, she would have been the first female governor elected in Nigeria and first female governor in northern Nigeria. Absolutely. If she had become governor of Taraba State.
I also agree that women have a point in the advocacy for more women participation in governance.
Yes. How many slots did you think would have satisfied women out of 21?
No, that's what I'm coming. I don't know what to satisfy them. They must be more involved. That's the starting point.
You think we're not involved?
No, I don't think so. I don't think women are sufficiently involved. You have to be part of the process for you to be part of the result. You don't just aim at the results without being part of the process.
Culturally, it's very difficult for women to be part of this process. We know politicking goes on till 3 a.m. in the morning, unfortunately. You know, not many women with families will be able to go for political meetings from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m., Mr. Omonijo. You know, so how do we get more involved in a process that inevitably shuts us out with timing?
Well, I don't know if it shuts them out with timing. If they are part of it, then I believe that all of them will come together to realize at the time that is convenient for whatever they want to do. Me, I take exception to a number of things that happen here. 90% of the time goes into politicking and crisis and conflicts. Only 10% into something constructive.
Yes.
And I think we've got to find a way of getting around that. So really, it's part of this that during the day you expect somebody would have worked and worked hard. Then in the night again, it now comes for meeting. Then by 4, 5 a.m., we end the meeting, and you expect him to be at his best and at his desk by 9 a.m. You are joking. You must get around it. Generally, not just for the women.
So, the 3 women, you are happy with
the important thing is their output. If they have the capacity to distinguish themselves, it will open the way for so many other women. There's nothing wrong with that. The only thing that I think I will concede is that I think, well, maybe from the second list, from the second batch, maybe you have more of the youth represented.
Yes.
I've not seen much of that. I think
when you talk about youth, what age group are you talking
people
about?
Below 40.
Below 40.
Below 40. There are quite a number of people who are doing interesting things in their 30s in this country. 2 of them will not hurt. 2, 3 will not hurt.
That is how bringing some young blood.
Yes. They have their own thinking, they have their own vision, the future belongs to them. So let them be part of the present in preparation for the future.
Do you anticipate a tough screening for these nominees? And of course, you know I'm asking that because we've watched events play out in the National Assembly, especially the Senate. We've seen the Senate President now facing a trial at the Code of Conduct Tribunal. The trial may push the Senate to be so hostile to these nominees and screen them much more than we've ever seen. There will be no bow and goes. We've heard Senator Dino Melaya say that. On the other hand, some say, you know, that tribunal is like a sword hanging over the head of the Senate President. And, you know, the Senate will play ball because of that sword.
It's not a question of whether they play ball or not. I can expect that there will be some drama. I should expect that. This political environment, there should be some drama. We saw it. Some senators were shouting after 4 months and all that. We should expect some of those things. But I'm not bothered, really, that bow and go, we don't want bow and go. We want the nominees screened. Nigerians must be shown who they are. We know some of them already, but if there are other things, bring them out. If you want to vilify, if you want to witch hunt, if you want to pay back or whatever, try it. Nigerian people are not, they are not foolish. They will also see through. And the president is also watching. He sends his list. If you like, you play games and you say, okay, we are returning 10 to you, and so on. It means those 10 states will not be represented in the meantime. You are not going to force somebody on the president. So
it is possible that people are sent for screening and they don't pass. It's not automatic.
No, it's not automatic. It's happened before. Mr. Dayo Adeyeye, he was nominated into the Senate.
Yes,
he was nominated then, and there was crisis at home. you couldn't get past the Senate.
Yeah.
You had to be dropped. It's possible.
Possible. So even though many people are jubilating about this 21, these 21 may not all make it.
That's why they are nominees. If you are nominees, it means that the approving authority has a right to drop. And when they say, look, we don't want this, they will return the list to the president, either of three things.
Right. One,
the person himself may withdraw and say, I'm not interested in all this. What's all this about?
Yes.
Two, the president himself could withdraw him and say, I don't want to go through all these houses. I have so many other people waiting in the wings. And three, the president could return the person and say, this is my nominee. I find nothing wrong with him.
Have we had a situation where a president represented a person?
I cannot immediately remember, but I think it's happened. I may not be able to play my finger on it, but it is a possibility. The president says, look, I'm not satisfied with what you've done. I'm returning this to you.
And then what happened? They screen again?
They screen again.
Maybe they find a common ground.
Of course, it's politics. In politics, a lot. The politics of the legislature is lobby. Then you up the lobby a little.
Yeah.
If it's returned the second time, then the leaders of the political party, of the political space will meet. And incidentally, it's the executive and legislature, we don't have this very strict compartmentalization as we think.
Yes.
They get to meet to discuss.
Contrary to what we all think.
Yeah, contrary to what we all think.
Well, okay, the good thing about the ministerial list, though, for some people, is that it knocked off the front pages the story of the former Petroleum Minister, Desiani Alison Madueke.
I don't know if it's a good thing. We also need to be sure that the war against corruption, that one, this administration means it, and two, that some of the things we've heard about the petroleum industry under the past administration are not mere hysteria. We need to establish them. We need to, if our money has gone somewhere, we need to retrieve the money, and we need to follow it through.
You don't think the war is selective, like some people are saying?
I think it's even too early for anybody to talk of evidence selective. It's when you have taken 10 people and you look at the color of those 10 and you look at the direction, then you've started with the Senate president because it's code of conduct, and it's not the executive that got him arrested, it's not DSS.
But he says, you know, it's a witch hunt. They seem to think it's coming from the presidency, you know, and even if it doesn't seem so to you, the senators feel very hurt, and it looks like an attack on democracy is the way they see it.
You see, I find certain things funny.
Yes.
Let's even assume, for the purpose of argument, that somebody is instigating it, as they tend to suggest. That is not a defense. What I would consider a defense is that our number 3 man stands above the bird. That's what I would consider a defense. Tell me that this man did nothing. They are creating all this. Fine. But to say, am I the only guilty person, or is he the only one guilty? It's irritating to me.
Do you anticipate a situation where a nominee will say to the Senate president, I'm sorry, you don't have the moral right to screen me?
No,
it won't happen?
It will be apolitical, it will be impolitic, if you like. I don't think anybody would say that. Not to the face, because to be an assault on the Senate as an institution, not on the person of Dr. Saraki.
Yes.
When he's on that seat, performing his role as Senate president, at that moment, you respect the institution. You know, that person will be seen as immature,
yes,
and probably unfit for the office. I don't think it's necessary.
Except the person just wants to create some drama.
Unless he wants to create some drama, walkout, maybe, but it's unnecessary. Even if you want, it's unnecessary. If I were, I would rather decline the nomination and bring out a statement for the grant, and that's all, rather than appear in the Senate and say to the face of the state president, you are unfit, you are morally bankrupt. No, it's not necessary.
I wanted to read to you the comment of Professor Ishesage, speaking with the Punch newspaper on Monday, October 5, on this idea of witch hunt. Now, Professor Sage says, this is the new defense for criminal prosecution, which is being drummed up in Nigeria. It does not exist in law. Witch hunt has never been a defense in court. The plea is guilty or not guilty.
Exactly.
You are a real witch if you are guilty and should be haunted. End of quote. So, looking at the former petroleum minister, they say the investigation has been going on since 2013.
And even in a different jurisdiction.
In a different jurisdiction.
Not even Nigeria.
What are your immediate observations on what is happening around the former petroleum minister?
I felt particularly happy when I got to know that she's been apprehended in the United Kingdom and is being made to face justice over there.
Why over there? Why were you happy that it's over there?
No, I'm happy that it started there.
Okay.
Because within the context of Nigeria today, and what people are saying with the only very first person, Dr. Bukola Saraki, another one of Diezani would just be another storm, if you like. But if it's in the UK, if they tell us from there that it started 2013, then obviously it's not by the Buhari administration, then it's not even about whatever she did in Nigeria, but what she did to offend the laws of the United Kingdom. So I'm happy that it's there. But I would be happier too if she still faces justice in Nigeria.
Is there a possibility that that will ever happen?
Well, I hope so. I pray so. I pray that we begin to see things like that. I wouldn't even mind if there are very serious allegations against her. After some time, whatever happens over there, that she gets extradited to come and face the law here. Because whatever you have over there is a tip of the iceberg of whatever might have happened here. I agree, these are mere allegations for now. She's not been proven guilty. She has a right to her plea.
She hasn't even been charged.
So there are mere allegations for now. The one against Dr. Saraki are also allegations against him. He's been charged before the tribunal. He's taken his plea. He has pleaded not guilty. So we should presume him innocent for now until he's proven guilty. Let's
go to the matter of the former governor of Bayelsa State. The United Kingdom government has also mentioned Dipriye Alamisega. He has a pending case. Of course, we know he's been pardoned here. Will that pardon have any effect whatsoever on the process in the United Kingdom? Does it put a stop to that process? You know, if they want to charge him, we are saying here, well, we're forgiving him. Does it matter?
Are they charging for whatever he did in Nigeria? Can they try and move out there for what he did in Nigeria? They are trying for what he did in the United Kingdom. So the United Kingdom has a right to raise up the case. That you pardon him in Nigeria, you pardon him in Nigeria for what he did against the Nigerian state in Nigeria, within Nigeria. There is also the case of Dariye. I expect that such a matter will come up at any point from now. Anybody who is found to have tainted himself, even if he can escape because of some conspiracy and collaboration here, ought to be brought to justice within the community of humanity, tracked down anywhere. Dariye jumped bail from the United Kingdom, made his way back to Nigeria somehow, and found himself in the Senate, and he served out his time in the Senate, Nigerian Senate. And he will be one of those to screen people and be talking about it's sickening.
Join us again after the break.
So what is 60 Minutes with Angela all about? It's not an interview. I like to think it's a conversation between two people making the news, people who are in the news, and those who become the news. And the whole idea is to inform, to educate, or to clarify, as the case may be. It is an art getting people to answer the questions that everyone is thinking in their minds. And that's what we try to do on 60 Minutes with Angela. I ask all the questions that everyone's thinking about and no one wants to voice. All the questions you always wanted to ask, you get those answers on 60 Minutes with Angela. Every week on this station, 60 Minutes with Angela, getting answers to every question you always wanted to ask. Welcome back. My concluding moments now with Bolade Omonijo, an editor with Nigeria's Nation newspapers. Something you said, you know, stuck out to me. You talked about how it's not a defense, that it's a witch hunt. Did the thing happen or it didn't happen? If it didn't happen, then say so, it didn't happen. I'm looking at now the resolution of our House of Representatives here for the Speaker, Dogara, to intervene in the present challenges faced by Nigeria's Senate President and looking for a political solution, they say, aimed at protecting the institution of the National Assembly as a whole for the interest of our democracy. That's the way they put it. Now, how does seeking a political solution for what the Senate President is charged with, how will that clean the slate?
It's one of the problems I have with the polity as it is. I expected that people who offer themselves for leadership positions will be circumspect and careful and cautious the way they think, the way they speak, the way they act, because they are guiding some people. They are supposed to show the light. When the whole of the House of Representatives as an institution comes up with such a motion and passes the motion, all of them with a glee, that yes, we should find a political accommodation for something so sordid.
Doesn't that mean that they don't see the matter as that important? The matter of anticipatory declaration, the matter of incomplete declaration, they don't see it as an offense.
Is it what they see or what the law says? What is it that we have in our law book? If he's not guilty of anything, if he has a very solid defense team before the tribunal, all they should do is to fast track it.
Yes.
Let his lawyers cooperate with the tribunal, because they will then say no case submission.
Yes.
And in no time the tribunal will come to a decision, and that will be the end. We'll put that behind us and move on. We won't be the one that will then be pussyfooting.
Yes.
It doesn't lead us anywhere.
A political solution, will that answer the question? Will that end the story? Wouldn't that keep the story still lingering?
That's what I'm saying. The only solution is it's already before the court of law. It's also in the court of public opinion. Those are two very powerful courts, even if we leave the court of God out of it.
Yes.
So I don't know where you now say, okay, let's find a political solution. A political solution is to say, let's forsake the regular path and look for a way in the bush, and somewhere in the bush find a solution.
Yes.
I don't see that. If it were not in court, and if it were at the level of political disputations and threats, and you say, okay, let's find a solution to it, fine. But it's in court. Are they expecting the Attorney General, whenever it comes out, to file a nolli prosequi? No, it will not be satisfactory. It will leave so many things hanging, and it will further convince us that even the president is not serious with his war.
All right, let's go to the elections in Kogi and Bayelsa State now. People are expressing shock about the two APC candidates there. It looks like nothing new is changing. We have Abubakar Audu, who's being a former governor in Kogi State. We also have Timipre Silva, who's also being a former governor of the state. Especially in Bayelsa, people thought bringing in fresh blood like Timi Alaibe to tackle Siriake Dixon would have made more sense. So what do you make of the reactions to the APC's candidates in those states?
I don't have a problem with any party's candidates. So far, it is what the parties want. It is their representative. They bring out an inappropriate candidate, they will face the electorate and lose. If they bring the appropriate candidate, then they will reap the result. That is entirely their own business, as it were. Siriake Dixon is not a new candidate for the PDP. Timipre Silva is not a new candidate. Silva thinks that the state, the federal government, used its muzzle to push him out, and that it was an unfair contest, and that Siriake Dixon was rigged into office somehow through the back door, and that this is payback time. That is what he thinks. That is what he's selling to his people. Siriake Dixon is saying a different thing. Both views will contend with the electorate. The electorate will finally decide. All I'm interested in is that the voice of the people must prevail. That's all.
And the process must be transparent.
The process must be very transparent. It must be what the people want. It must be about the voters.
Going forward now, the fact that people are saying the president hasn't paid enough attention to the economy. We're seeing a dip in our economic indices. We're also seeing, a lack of direction because we don't have a fiscal policy. Do you think the president is aware of, economically aware of where we are as a nation?
I'll be surprised if he's not aware. But at the same time, I'm also disturbed. I'm disturbed because, like you said, all the indices are southwards.
Yes.
The stock exchange is getting nowhere. The foreign exchange, you can see everything, because nobody knows the direction we'll be traveling. The most common of decisions has not been taken. Maybe because governance has not really started.
Yes.
Because you need a team to work. It's not an individual work. Now that he's just constituting his team. Again, I'm disturbed. Earlier on, I said, well, when he gave his reason, I'm not too bothered again. But at the same time, I expected that after the 4 months, when he's unveiling his candidates, to be a full list, then we'll have a final picture of the team that will drive the country towards 2019.
Yes.
But even now, so much is still left at the level of speculation.
And you know, well, now that we've also been told that a lot of the promises that were made during the elections were not promises made by the president. Do you have any clue about what his vision is?
I don't. Until we hear him, until we see him, until he speaks through his ministers, until he speaks to issues and policies, well, we understand that it's just taken off.
Yes.
But much of the important statements and who have been made abroad.
He's not speaking to the local media.
He's not speaking to the local media. He's not speaking to the Nigerian people. It's only what filters in from abroad that we hear.
Yes.
When he wants to say I'll be petroleum minister, it's abroad. When it's going to say that the civil service is more important than his ministers,
yes,
it's abroad. I mean, about 4 or 5 different things that he has had to face the international community to say. I expected he should be addressing us at home.
He didn't do a presidential media chat at 100 days. And no one is saying that he must follow that formula. But 4 months on, no local media here has engaged our president on a one-on-one.
That's what I'm saying. It's not really spoken to Nigerians through the media. Yes, we should see how he wants to run our country. We must know. He has not really told us anything. Maybe he's waiting for a full takeoff.
Yes.
Maybe. Let's see what happens from now on. Because he said for the first 4 months, he was calling the PAMSECs and the leaders, the bureaucrats together from each of the ministries to brief him on the state of things. Maybe he wants to have a general picture of the situation of things, and thereafter bring in his men who will translate his vision and his mission and drive his mission, and thereafter then meet the Nigerian people to say, look, this is where we stand, this is how we are going, this is the altitude I expect we'll be traveling. Maybe, but it's all maybe.
Yes, all maybe. That is comment about noisemakers. Of course, the PDP has latched onto that and said he won't attach any value to these ministers. These are the ministers he has already called noisemakers. He's been interacting very well with the permanent secretaries. He says they do the bulk of the work. So are we going to get ministers that are just going to be puppets, or are we going to get ministers that will actually have inputs into governance?
I don't see a possibility of the men
those names
being puppets. I doubt if an Amici will be a puppet in his own ministry. I doubt if a Dambazel will be a puppet in his own ministry. I doubt if a Fashola can be pocketed by any bureaucrats. I doubt if a Fayemi will just be pushed aside anywhere he is. I mean, you know these people, or a Chris Ngige, or Dr. Gunaya, or no, I don't think so. I don't see it.
The screening, they say, will take off October 13th, a Tuesday. When do we expect the second batch? Will it be after all that screening is completed? And that means we're looking at a whole month for this minister business.
We don't know. The president might as well choose tomorrow to send the second list. It will welcome them on Tuesday with the second list, or he could choose to wait, or it could be his own idea of 21 ministries, let these ministers be there, then these other ones will go, and we don't know.
Do the special advisors go for screening as well in the Senate?
No. Okay. The law is that the Senate should approve the number. Then it's the prerogative of the president to choose whom he wants. And they've already approved 15 for him.
Those 15 have been working?
No. We only have a special advisor on media and publicity, maybe 1 or 2. He has not named the others. I guess he wants everything to gather momentum together.
And now on the war on Boko Haram, one of the reasons a lot of people voted for President Buhari was that they thought you know, with his military background, once he comes in, it will be only a matter of time, you know, before we would see the end of Boko Haram. It's not stopping. The army is talking tough, but Boko Haram still exists.
I wish there is a way we could just wish away. I wish there's a way you could wish away cancer. You know, it doesn't work like that. It will take time. I'm pleased with some of the steps and measures the president has taken. One of the first things he did was to ensure that the red heads or red hats, or what I call them in the military, that they themselves moved to the battleground. They saw situations, they gave confidence to the troops.
Yes,
in
on the ground.
Yes. And I think they've done much of that. He has also engaged our neighbors, and the money that Nigeria was supposed to have paid and other for the multinational
task force. Yes.
Nigeria has been able to pay. He's paid that. So they are fully engaged in the war from their own end. Then the real international community, the Western powers, they are sold on the idea. They were reluctant when President Jonathan was there. The United States has pledged its cooperation, its assistance. France has done the same.
Yes.
Of course, Britain will support. So I could see that President Jonathan said he had problems buying arms. Now, I don't see that really playing out. So obviously, they've done a few things. They've done quite a number of things.
Yes.
So that the men who are found guilty and sentenced anyhow, they've been reintegrated.
As the soldiers.
As soldiers.
Yes.
Soldiers. And we've seen quite a number of Boko Haram people surrendering in recent times. The heat is on them, there's no doubt about that. But when you talk of suicide bombing,
yes,
it's not something you can easily exterminate. What we had before, where Boko Haram will have the audacity to seize a town and hoist its own flag,
yes,
and take over the administration, if you like, of the town, riding in broad daylight in APC and all that on the streets. You don't have that again. You don't have that again. And that is some progress made.
Okay.
There's no part of Nigerian territory that's under terrorist occupation.
Anymore, yes. But we still have kidnapping. We've had recently the kidnap of Olufalaye, yes. You know, that was really distressing. We're still having issues of abductions. And they say now the Southwest seems to be the capital of abductions.
I'm not sure about that one, but it's quite disturbing. I agree. It was the fear I had that when President Buhari came on board,
yes,
and he turned the full heat on Boko Haram, and it appeared that the full attention was on Boko Haram.
Yes.
I was afraid that other insecurity concerns, you know, may begin to fester, and we begin to have them. Dunu Kogbara was kidnapped. Olufalaye was kidnapped.
Yes. Stephen Osu's wife.
Stephen Osu's wife. Yes. It's not necessarily just the Southwest. It's the same problem around here. Fortunately, so far, we've not seen an upsurge in armed robbery cases in the Southwest. I'm afraid if all attention is focused on the Northeast, that these other people will be emboldened once again to start striking. So I believe that there must be a security policy that is national and takes care of the various shades of insecurity concerns in the country, not just one side, because there are in other parts of the country. But I believe again is because you do not really have the team in place. You know, the way it works, the way I see it in the United States, for example, you have the security team, they're able to work together. You have the Minister of Defense, you have the NSA, you have the security, the service chiefs, you have all of them. They're able to come together, they have their own policies, they run the policies, and they meet from time to time to assess the situation. You have the economic team, they are able to put their heads together, they're able to come up with policies approved by the president. From time to time, they brief him, from time to time, they assess the situation. From time to time, they gauge the mood, they're able to gauge the temperature within the economy, and they're able to engage the private sector. We don't have anybody doing that at the moment because we don't have a team in place. So you have it, you have all those various things. I pray, I wish, I believe that things will pick up a little more. I said at the end of the first 100 days that we haven't seen anything, and I wasn't quite expecting that we'd see much, but I was expecting that in the next 100 days,
Yes.
we won't come back again with a bag of excuses.
Thank you very much, Mr. Omonijo, for coming on 60 Minutes with me.
Thank you very much.
And I thank you for watching. I'm Angela Ajitumobi.